I'm super excited about this because I can't wait to see Rhoda paint some of the live attendees. So just a little bit about Rhoda. You guys probably learned a little bit from our promotions, but she is most definitely a multi-talented artist, and she can paint anywhere at any time. As a matter of fact, right now she is in a cafe in Mexico. So who knows? Maybe people will be looking over her shoulder. And her skill set is it's huge. So she uses multiple mediums. It's not just digital. She does do traditional painting as well, and she has a wide variety of styles. Today, we're going to focus on caricature, but feel free to go to her website. You can learn about. She does training. She paints personal caricatures, and she does live events. So if you or the company that you're working for is looking for something like that, I definitely recommend Rhoda. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Rhoda to get started.
Thank you, Tanya. That was a beautiful introduction. I can't say much more than what you said already, except to tell you I've been using Painter since it was born. That's way back in the 90s, possibly before some of you were born. In any case, I have written books on Painter. Here are a few of them. And I have also created some video tutorials on how to use Painter creatively. Let me show you that. I won't save that. Also, that I have been doing live events, doing caricatures with Painter, again, since the 90s. I was a caricature artist way before that, but Painter, when Painter came on the scene, I was in the right place at the right time and I jumped on it. So let me once again show you some of my live work. These were all done at events of some sort, probably in 5 minutes or less. And the photos are simply to show you what my likeness is, so I could use it for promotional purposes. I worked from live rather than from photos. So let's look at some more of these. And I won't save that. Here's another one. I like to show that when you're doing caricature, what you're doing is you're simplifying and exaggerating. I mean, within that comes a wide variety of choices to be made. In this particular case, I went for the nose, and I also made up, since this was a woman clearly of Indian descent, I made up that little bindi red spot up there. So I get to be creative in that way. Let's make that go away. And here's another fellow from originally from India, or his people were from India, and I was at some sort of event where IBM had hired me to draw caricatures of people. They often wanted me to keep the folks at the booth occupied so that they could sell whatever it was they were selling. Here's Senor Lopez at a family reunion event, and I took the liberty of giving him a very large, a scruffy neck. Let's see a couple more of these. Here's another one, and I'll just kind of go through more of these as I go. When I see a glamorous woman, I kind of like to exaggerate that aspect of it, as you can see, and you can start to see some of the tools I'm using. I'm using a brush variant called dry ink for the outline, and I'm using a scratchboard rake tool or brush variant with some color variability within it. I'll show you more about that as we go. Here's a fellow who was at an event, and I exaggerated and simplified that face. Let's see if I have a couple more. Here's another one. I also want to show you some of the work I do in the studio from photos where I've been commissioned to create something either for publication or just for personal use. It could be a logo, or it could be any number of uses that people would want to have a caricature. So here's another woman of Indian descent. I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area for many years, and I had the opportunity of seeing people from a wide variety of ethnic backgrounds. Of San Francisco being such a wonderful cosmopolitan city, and also these tech events, these tech conventions were attended by people from all over the world. So I got to see a tremendous array of facial and features and ethnic types. So let's make that go away. Here's an example of a studio piece that I did from photos for this family. And here, I'm not concerned about speed so much. I'll be demonstrating my speed caricature in a moment, but I just want you to see what I do when I'm just concerned about more accuracy. So I'm using a, a a smoother kind of an ink pen here. I'm using the Scratchboard pen, which I'll just show you right now. This is a template, and if I'm using, let me go to actual size here. If I'm using the Scratchboard tool with black, this is the kind of line I get. Well, yeah, okay, I want to use black actually. So here's a line that I get with the Scratchboard tool, and it does have a thick and thin quality to it based on pressure, of course. I'm using a Wacom tablet along with my MacBook Pro. Now, just to show you that in contrast what the dry ink brush variant looks like. That's the one I use with my live work. This is, whoa, that is it's also thick and thin, but it has a very juicy, bristly kind of a a, a profile or a quality to it. I'm just gonna do a select all and delete all those strokes. So one or two more of my studio pieces. Let's make that one go away, and let me show you. Let's see. Oh, well, this was one of the live ones, but we'll just make that one go away. And so here's another studio piece. I think it was used in the promo for this webinar. This was, again, a family who provided me with some photos, including the dog, and an idea. And I gave them a rough sketch, also done with a Scratchboard tool in Painter. And let's just zoom in a little bit. And so after one or two rounds, I was able to get their approval for the final art. And I can just show you, this is still in layers, that's the color layer. I'm just turning off the color layer, although it looks like the seahorse had its own layer here. I'll bring color back, and then this was, yeah, that's the seahorse layer. And now just the line work, which was done with the Scratchboard tool, as I mentioned. So let me make that one go away without saving it. And here's a piece that I did for publication. It is a caricature of some sports figures that was used on as cover art for a sports video. Let's make that one go away. And finally, here is something I did as cover art for a magazine, an editorial magazine on medical issues. And so this is like a comic strip having to do with smoking issues. So we have these characters saying things like, "Smoking relaxes me. How can I tell Bob about his breath?" So there's a humorous quality there, but it's also got a message about the perils of smoking. Let's make that one go away. And finally, as another example of a personal commission, this was for the wedding invitation for this couple who was having their wedding in Hawaii. So we have some underwater characters. All I got from them was photos of their face, and then I was able to come up with concepts until they approved of what we had. So let me actually get now to how I set up for live work. And the first thing I'll show you is my template, which has, let me have go up to window, I'll go zoom to fit, which is almost the the exact, almost actual size, 95 and change. On my template, I have a line layer. That's where I'm going to be making lines with the scratchboard tool. I'm sorry, with the dry ink tool. And before I go any further, I want to go to my preferences and do a brush tracking, a fresh brush tracking. That is simply a way that you can tell Painter what your speed and pressure is at the moment or for a given project. And now that should accommodate to the way you work. If you have a very light touch, you'll get a different kind of an effect. I'm looking for a little bit more control here, so that's going to work out. Okay. I also have a color layer. So let's say I do a line and get my features here on the line layer. Oh, that looks just like them. I can go to color, and my color layer is already in gel mode. It's one of the choices that you have in the blending modes array. And so that means if I go in there now with flesh tone or whatever it might be, I can still see the line layer. If that was default, that would be opaque, and so I would not be able to see what's underneath it. So let me go back then to gel, and let me just get rid of all of those lines. I have a layout that I have customized for working live so that I can just hit the ground running, more or less. And the layout is something I have saved using this command in the window menu, save layout, and I've called it, let's go back to layout. I've called it Caricature 2020. So anytime I switch to a different layout or go back to default layout, I can always find this particular array. So this is showing me the a reference image panel. I'll show you how that's used. It shows me my color set, which again, I have a custom color set that I've called Caricature Colors, so I don't have to go through a huge number of colors in order to find in this case, 25 or so colors that are likely to be more useful to me when I'm doing the caricature work. Everything is designed for speed and efficiency. I don't have time to look through the thousands of brush variants to find just the one I want. I have them all set up here in a custom palette. So here's how to make a custom palette. Dry ink, as you see, is in here already. If I wanted to add something to this custom palette or just start a new custom palette, why don't I do that? I'll move this one over. It's as simple as holding your shift key down and then dragging out, and there you have the beginning of a custom palette. It's called Custom 5 at the moment, and if I wanted to add another item to it, maybe I want to put my scratchboard tool in there. I just clicked on the or tapped on the scratchboard tool in my 2020 caricature palette, and so now again I'm holding my shift key down and I'm dragging over to this new custom palette. If I want to move things around, all I need is to use my shift key, and somehow that didn't get there, so let me try that again, and there it is. Now if I want to organize or rename or do something, I'll go to the custom palette organizer that's right here, and I see that it's showing me the 2020 caricature demo palette, which is what I'm going to work with, and also this one that I just made, which I don't want to keep, so I'll just go click on it and click delete, and I will be done with that. So it's as simple as that. You can also add commands to a custom palette, and I think it would be nice to have zoom in and zoom out as commands in my custom palette. So I'll go back to custom palette organizer or custom palette menu and use add command. Now I want it to be added to this particular palette, so I'll choose that. And I want to select the command from, let's see, where do I want to go? I want to make a zoom. I want to do a zoom in. So now it's showing me, well, I got zoom out. Well, both of them would be good. Zoom out. Yeah, zoom out. There we go. So I'm adding that. Look at that. It just popped into my custom palette. Let's add zoom in as well. So I'll click OK first of all, and then I'll go back to custom palette, add command, and let's add to this particular 2020 custom palette, let's add zoom out. Is that the one I want? No, I want zoom in. Let's try that again. Let's go to zoom in. Alrighty. Now it's showing me zoom in, and so I will click OK. And now there it is. I've got zoom in, zoom out. And this one, iterative save that I added before, that is extremely handy if you want to save stages in a piece, any artwork at all, without having to go to save as and type in a unique name, that type of thing. Again, for efficiency and speed, there's nothing like iterative save. Well, let's go and do a sample using a reference image. I think I'll go to I'll open a reference image that will enable me to go to my, let's see. All right, I'm going to use myself as a sample to show that I can take it as well as dish it out. And with this dry ink variant on my line layer, I'm just going to go in there with black. Let's switch to black. We go in there and make that cap. I usually start at the top and work down, and show the glasses. And that's a little too thick. Let's go in there, and the ear, and I'm going to exaggerate, not that much, exaggerate that nose. Maybe have a little bit of a tilt, exaggerate the tilt or the angle of all of those features, so I can do this. Then big earring, I quite like my earrings, and so there's one. We'll give a turtleneck over here, and the other side of the glasses, maybe give myself more information on the nose and some hair. Let's get some hair in there. And I believe I'm going to do a save. Let's start with that iterative save. And so it's now going to actually call that template. I didn't give it a unique name. So it's template 4x6001. And that'll just keep on adding to that. So let's now go to the color layer and put in some flesh tone, and I can get sloppy with that and maybe a little bit lighter with that. I'll undo that last one there. Oh, I wanted to zoom in with my, yeah, that's good. That's looking good. I can go in there with a skin tone on the color layer. Yeah, is there a question, Tanya? Or
Jeremy was wondering, and he asked this early on when you first showed the layers, but is there a reason that what's the thought process behind the color layer being gel and above your line layer?
Okay, happy to answer that question. I don't know that it matters whether the color layer is above or below line. In fact, here's what I just did is I put line and I switched line and color, so it doesn't matter. But the purpose of the having gel for the color layer is so that it's transparent, so you can see the line layer through it, and that's pretty important. So is there any other question I need to answer at the moment?
Well, Joseph is wondering what size of paper are you using right now, and I guess that kind of leads into, is there a certain document size that you typically use?
Okay, that's an easy one, because I typically, when I'm working live, I'm preparing that was a little bit too wide there. I work with a 4x6 photo printer, and so the template is therefore a 4x6 template 4x6. I just clicked on tab so that you could see the title bar there, and that's going to end up being, I'm not sure exactly what the resolution is, but let me go and take a look at that. If I do Command Shift and R, I can see 4:6 at 125 pixels per inch, which is a relatively low resolution, but for this kind of work, it's fine. It would be not sufficient if I was working with photo imagery, but for this, I find that my 4:6 prints turn out nice and crisp and no pixelation at all. If there are any more questions, go ahead. Meanwhile, I'll just kind of clean this up. I want to go to my color layer once again, and using my Option or Alt key, I switched to white so that I could just go in there and basically erase all the white that's slopping over the edges of my line work. So I'm going to keep on keeping on over here. I'm going to use maybe this color and switch to the chunky oil pastel for the glasses, and switch again to white just to create, kind of a shiny bit there, and also to clean up some of the edges once again. I'm going to get a stronger purple than what I have in my caricature colors. So I'll choose that, and then I'll look at the entire color wheel here so that I can get the kind of purple that I'd kind of like to see. So now with that purple, and maybe I'll add that purple to my, there it is. Look at that, nice magenta. So I can go in and oh yeah, put that in for the earring. Now I think I'm gonna just add, maybe put that in for the cap, for the bill of the cap. And now I'm gonna switch to the, oh, let's clean those teeth off. Let's give me some white teeth over there, and give me some more skin tone. Maybe a little bit of a rosy glow to my cheeks, and I'm still using chunky oil pastel. So let's do some of that. That's just way too heavy. Let me put that on the lips also. But now I have a blender tool in my collection here. I should have. If I don't, I'm going to add one. Let's go to the blenders and find a blender that I like. So let's see, a blender like Grainy Water. Grainy Water should do the trick. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, that's kind of a good basic blender, and that gives me a nice blended out cheek tone. And I'll add that to my custom palette. So I'll hold my Shift key down and drag Grainy Water down. And do I have it? Let's see, maybe it's further out here. There it is. But I'd like to move it over to another spot, so that's good. I also have two paper textures in my custom palette, and that's kind of handy. I have basic paper. Notice when you hover over any of these items, you'll see the name of to tell you what you're dealing with. Fine dots is something I use to create a grid pattern, or something like 5 o'clock shadow. So let me go back now and switch to my scratchboard rake. And this scratchboard rake, let me just show you by making a few strokes.
I do have a couple questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's pronounced Lorian, and I'm sorry if I pronounce that wrong, but they're wondering if you're going to release a new painter book.
What are they asking? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
A new painter book. So you pulled out, you had on the, at the beginning of the session.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, there's nothing in the works right now, but talk to my agent. Just kidding, I don't have an agent.
Well, we can talk about that.
we'll talk. Okay.
And Joseph was wondering how did you come up with your caricature colors? Is that just something you've been working with for years?
Yeah, like I might do, for example, if I have an image that I feel has the full array of colors that I typically need, I might just go over to my color set menu and create new color set from that image. You see, so maybe I could choose it. I'll do that right now. New color set from image, and call that a demo color set, or demo caricature, something like that. That whatever you want to name it. And I misspelled it here, so let's get rid of that. And so now I'll click OK, and that should appear just below the, and here we go, demo caricature. So that has quite an array of skin tones, for example, which I had, partly because I did that smearing with the blender tool. We're seeing quite a lot of pinks and flesh tones and whatnot, plus that nice magenta I just made, the red, the pink from the lips and so on, and then black for the line work, and so it's as easy as that to create a new color set from your image. And so the one that I already had has a few extras here because there's no yellow in this particular image, but there is a yellow and an orange and some other things here in the color set that I had before. Let's see if I can put in some more refinements here, such as, let me go to some effects here. There might be some effects. Marbling rake. What's that going to do for me on my color? No, I don't think so. But let's that be in. Well, here's a way to get some texture. That's kind of what I wanted to do, was get some texture. I'm going to use fog jitter, and with my Option or Alt key, get this magenta color, and now I'm going to put some fog jitter in there, some fog jitter in the earring, just so I can get some texture. And now I'll go back to my scratch board tool with white and clean up some of that. So this is a very interesting lesson on, I'm using the skin tone to clean up this part. Interesting lesson on improvising and handling unexpected things which may from time to time occur. It's also a lesson on how deep and complex this program is. So you can spend a lifetime, and I've almost done that, just kind of learning and learning to go deeper into the program and developing more skill as you go. So it's pretty exciting if you can avoid being being overwhelmed by all the choices. I did in my classroom teaching. I had a student just kind of, basically throw her hands up and say, "There's just too many choices here," and so you need to well, one way that you're limiting your choices, of course, is to simply have all of these customized things that you can go to without having to reinvent the wheel, or to go and let me get that rake. This time my rake is just going to be giving me plain old gray strokes, but that's okay. That'll give me the gray hair that I have so richly deserved. And we're just about there. I'm just going to clean up the lips here. And whoop, I want to get the red for that. And so when I use my scratch board tool, I'm able to get some nice detail. But the tool that gives me the rich, juicy effect is the dry ink. So let me put a little bit of dry ink over, or let me use, the scratch board tool with a little bit of a darker gray, just to create some variability, even though the variability is not from within the stroke. So I'm going to call it. I'm going to say that's probably close enough. And I didn't use iterative save enough, so I'll do another iterative save. And then if I wanted to keep going, I could do that. Let me dismiss this then and open up one of the photos that have been submitted for the next part of the demo. And I'll go and open up David. There we go. Look at that. I'm looking at David. What an amazing smile. And I'm going to just open my template again. I might have to actually take that template back to its original. Let me go over here. And template is under. The nice thing about the reference image is that it's always on top of everything. You don't have to go finding it. And it's the template. Looks like my template is still in good shape. Let me zoom to fit. And at this point, I will go and use my black I'll go to the layers. Let's find my layers once again. They should be over there. Okay, so I start on the line layer, and with my dry ink, let me just get the basic. I'm going to go and I'm going to do another brush tracking. I think I might be able to get a better effect when I do that. So here's, yeah, that's good. So here's the hair, kind of, sort of. There's an ear. I like to do as much as I can with a single stroke. Let me zoom in actually for the actual size. And I'm going to exaggerate the shape and the angles of this face. Look at that. So now I'm going to put in an eye and a nose. He's already making faces for me, so I'll give him this wonderful smile that he's got. And I won't make a line for every tooth. I like to say, I like to warn people not to do piano keys teeth, which is what I call it when you do a line for every individual tooth. So let's get that other eye in there, and here we go. And the cheek, this is the cheek, and I think we're ready just about for, I'm going to zoom in with my little custom command on my custom palette, and let's go to the color section. So we'll go to the color layer, I should say, zoom out, there we go, and I'll put in a basic skin tone here using, I think I'll use my chunky oil pastel for that. And oh, I have to I'm on the line layer, wrong layer. Look at that. You always want to check that. If I'm on my color layer, which is in gel mode, sure enough, it is going to allow me to show the line through. And I'll go back to my my dry ink, and so I can really fill that in very quickly. I'll try to avoid the teeth so I don't have to erase all that stuff. And we're good. So far, we're pretty good. Let me get a good basic hair color for this guy. And I think maybe I'll choose a duller brown. There, that's a pretty good looking brown we have there. And I'm going to zoom in like so. And just by holding down my shift key, I can get the grabber hand so I can move things around to where I want to be. Just for the tiny areas that I want to clean up, I'll use the scratchboard tool to get a white, so we can erase that and erase that. Let's give him some cheek color, so I'll choose a pink. Now I'll go to the chunky oil pastel and give him a pink cheek. And how about a little pink on the nose, the other cheek, and maybe that lower lip a little bit. This is going to be handy for me to use my my fine dots paper texture, because I want to give him, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this guy, even if it's not there, or even if I have to make it up. I quite like giving guys a a layer of 5 o'clock shadow. So I'm going to do that with the chunky oil. Let's see if I can get that, use that with a kind of a gray. No, that's a little too dull. I want to go in there maybe with this, I'll choose another color, kind of like a greenish gray, and I'm going to choose a different, a stronger texture that I can get from chalk. So look at that. Now I can really make that happen very quickly. And if that's a little too much, I'm thinking I can go to edit fade and maybe reduce a little bit of that amount. Well, I think I made 2 strokes, so that might not work. But let's go in with a smaller chalk. That one's real fat chalk. So let me go and find another a blunt hard pastel. That's also kind of big, but I can just change the size of that on the fly by doing something like that. I was just holding down my option command or command control. Sorry, I'm so used to the Mac commands, I might make some mistakes by telling you the wrong things if you're on the PC. Well, that's giving him a nice rugged look. And I want to go and give him a little bit of a greenish eye. I think he's got hazel or green eyes. So let me choose a green here. that doesn't happen to be in my color set, but I quite like it. So I'm going to add it to my color set by doing that. There it is, lovely green. So just with the chunky oil, let's go give him some green eyes. That's working nicely. And I'm thinking, let me just zoom out, see what I'm all about here. There's a few things I'd like to clean up. Maybe on the line layer, that's just a little bit too strong a section there. Maybe over here also, just kind of clean that up a little bit. I can do that on the line layer without affecting the color layer. Obviously, that's the purpose of layers. If I go back to color, I'm still with white. I can clean up that part of the
Rhoda,
situation. Yeah, talk to me.
so this is the perfect time to ask you because
Awesome.
while you notice that you're painting with white rather than using an eraser, is there
Yeah.
any
Oh,
behind
sure there
that?
is. Yeah, going all the way to the to the toolbox to get the eraser would take too long. I
Okay.
could have an eraser as part of my custom palette, but it's so much easier with my left hand doing nothing but lying there to go and choose the dropper tool in order to switch colors. That's an extremely handy little technique for switching colors. And you might as well use white as an eraser. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay.
And
And then Sumaya is wondering, I mean, we noticed already the benefit to having your line and your color on separate layers, but is
yeah,
there any reason why you don't separate the various color elements on their own layers as well?
uh, there is no reason for this purpose for me to do that because again, I'm wanting this to be a very speedy operation, and all I need is um, a colorful image to print and then hand to the person within 5
Right.
minutes or so. So there's no need for it for this purpose, and again, keep it simple. I would probably want to do just a little bit more cleanup here. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Sometimes I'll just throw in a quick color background. So I'm choosing this magenta color for that, and back to my dry ink because I quite like how juicy it is. And oh, I want to go back to the color layer. And so now I'm just going to do a quick, very, very rough looking, rough edged. And I like rough and dirty, and well, not dirty, but well, quick. So that's and I also like the style that differs from what I would be doing if I was working with traditional tools. I like that there is a digital quality to this. I like that I'm creating some effects that I can't do with pen and paper. I also am noticing I covered his lips with his 5 o'clock shadow. I don't want to do that, so I want to go back to the color layer, get that pink, use maybe my scratchboard tool because it's thinner and I can control it better. Now I've got the lips back. He's got a thinner upper lip, and then maybe just a little bit of the grainy water to blend some of the edges on these color patches, and then I'll maybe a little bit of blending on some of that 5 o'clock shadow as well. And I think I'm going to call it. So I wasn't using any iterative save out of my forgetting to do that, and also out of my habit of just kind of moving forward and sort of trusting that I won't mess up. Uh, but
It looks awesome. Everybody loves it.
oh, thank
Um,
you. Nice to hear.
Joseph and I missed this, but what brush did you use for the face color?
Yeah,
Probably.
I think I stuck with the dry ink because I could cover a lot of territory with that. And I'm going to make the line disappear just so you can see the color only now. And so you can see, let me zoom in here, and you can see, just from this very telltale edge
Yeah.
of the dry ink, that's, this is the footprint of the, let me go back to dry ink. Look at, and this is my choice is to see the cursor as an image of the footprint of that particular brush. There are other things you can choose in preferences, but I just like to see that, and it reminds me of the tool I'm working with. If I'm working with the this here then is the chunky oil pastel, and that looks like the tip of that tool, so that makes it feel ever so much more organic to me. We'll just make that come
Okay,
back.
thanks, Rhoda.
Sure. I better save that as David. Ooh, almost had it. David. Well, shall we do another? We have time for another one?
Sure. We'd love
All
that.
right. So then I'll dismiss David. I will trash David from the, pardon me, David, for being so rude. I will clear the current reference image. Incidentally, you can make this larger or smaller, wider or narrower. And I'll open up the Nicole image. Thank you for submitting your beautiful photo. This is a glamour shot, I would call it. And so if I open my template, I can go to File, Recent, and I can say Template. Let's go to Template, and now I'll just move that over so it's covering up all my desktop there, and I'll make it go to Zoom to Fit. And let's go now to the line layer using black and using the dry ink. Now this is a very different kind of a face. I want to just, I want to get the edge of the hair. I want to kind of frame her face with this hair. She has a wonderful glamorous eyes here. I want to get that glamour there. I want to maybe zoom in a little bit and put in she's got some very dark eyes, so I'll kind of darken that in, but I left a little bit of a shine there for the reflection in her eyes. I've got another eye to go here. Let's put that one in, and then I'm going to zoom out and then put in the nose. The thing about the nose that I think is distinctive is just that the edge, the bottom edge of the nose. She's got these beautiful, full, voluptuous lips. I'm going to make the most of the lips, and she's got a beautiful smooth face. I see the bottom of her face, the cheeks and the jaw, as fuller than the top of her head, so I'm going to exaggerate that. I'm going to leave out the hand, but I'm not happy actually with that jaw shape. I think I'm going to try to do that. Whoa, it's easy to make that dry ink go a little too thick, so that's going to do it, I think. And I'm just going to create sort of an edge there. I'm sort of making it up. It looks like she has a scarf, but that's going to do it. Let me add more to the hair at this point, and I might just be making up some more curls than I see there. And so I think I'm just about ready for the color layer, but nah, I'm not happy with this eye. So switching once again to white and just going in there and using the dry ink as an eraser, I'm going to go back and put in a different eye, maybe have that eye be a little bit closer, and now I think, let's try that again. And well, I'm going to keep doing it until I get it right. Let's try one more time. One more time, again with the dry ink. Close enough. I'm going to end up, I know in advance, with some glamour eyelashes. Actually, why don't I do it now? I'm going to zoom way in. Since that's something that I put on my line layer, I'm going to use the rake tool. This time I don't need variation. In fact, I'll use black. Look at how I use the rake tool to make eyelashes. I quite like that. So, and I don't know, I don't necessarily see eyelashes on her. I don't know what happened here, but whoop, let me undo this. Let me just kind of get rid of that little area there. Looks like a problem. And so now I'm going to zoom out once again, and I'm going to give her a skin tone on the color layer. Now yeah, okay, all of that was on the line layer. I just wanted to check. Let's give her a skin tone and maybe that'll work with the dry ink once again, just so I can cover a lot of ground. Did you notice that there was a little that beach ball thing that it took some time? It took a second or two for me to go from the rake tool or whatever I was using before to the dry ink, and I'll tell you why that is. That's because I was not able to find dry ink in the 2020 brushes. Maybe it's there now that I learned how to do a search once again, but failing that, I found my dry ink, which has always been my favorite brush for line work since way back. I found it in the 2015 brushes library. Now, Painter needs a second or two to switch from the current library to that old library, and that's why you saw that little beach ball. So that's something I wanted to
I'm
share with
glad you
you. Yeah,
brought that up, Rhoda, because,
good.
you know, version over version, we have tried to streamline the libraries, but we never take away any brushes. So any brushes from the beginning of time are accessible from that library menu. So if you have a favorite,
Yeah,
you can actually move it over into 2020 if you want, or you can switch libraries like you showed.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing to bring up. And Nicole is wondering if the drawing's going to be sent to her. She's
Well,
super
I think
excited.
that can be arranged as long as you give me full credit. Now,
I'm sure
here's
she.
here's an example where I would want to use that variable rake in order to get a very quick variation in color of the hair. But I'm going to, do without that, and maybe just go to a slightly darker red here and just add in with some dry ink strokes just to get some of that to happen. I am going to clean the whites of her eyes. This time I'll actually go to white and use the um, okay, the chunky oil. See, I'm going to have to move that dry ink into the 2020 library because, even those 2 seconds I had to wait were, like making me crazy. Gotta have it and gotta have it now. So let's give her. I'm going to zoom in again. Let's zoom in. Give her some beautiful brown eyes, and just leave a little bit of space there. I think maybe I'll give her also. Well, I've got to give her some beautiful lips there. So let me get that to happen with my. Oh, that could be just the color for the lipstick, and I'll go in there and I'll develop this gal, and I think. Oh, I'm still using that fine dots texture. I don't want that. I want to switch to the basic paper texture. That's much better. And now maybe I'll use a little lighter pink. Oh, to put in that highlight that for the lower lip. Oh, I'm liking that. And a little darker for now because I want to find something darker than this, and it's not in my color set. I'll go here and I'll just move this little point to something darker on that color saturation and value triangle. So that's what I'm going to do for the part of the upper lip that is in shadow a little bit more. There's a little bit of that can be done over here as well. Now I'm pretty happy with the way the lips look. Let me zoom out and let me do a save, as in, actually, let me first do a save as for Nicole. Now I can do more iterative saves if I need to do that as I move along. So I'm going to just do a little smeary thing here whoop, needed to wait for my grainy water to come up. So that's going to be just a way to get that edge a little smoother. I think I need to make those eyes, the iris of the eye, I think I need to expand. I'm going to zoom in for that. And so that's happening, I think, a little bit more effectively. Let me zoom out once again and give her some, she's got a beautiful blusher on. So I want to go and get some of that in there and give her a little bit of that cheek. And over here, I know I'm going to be using my my blender in a second. So let me go back to the blender. And I have already forgotten what the last brush was, so I'm just going to choose the blender from the custom palette. So here we are, blending. That's so important with makeup. Sometimes I think I should have been a cosmetologist instead of an artist, but this is, I think Nicole spends, or at least she has a very good attention to how her face looks and makeup and whatnot, and so I want to do her justice if I can. I think I would like to also give her, and I can zoom in here on the reference photo to look at her eyes more closely. Yes, indeed. I want to give her some eyeshadow, and I think I want to use a kind of a purple for that. So let me go and do that with the chunky oil pastel. Oh, yeah, that's looking good. And a little bit of blending. I think we're getting close now. Well, yeah, we are. Oops. And so I have the, no, I haven't switched. Yeah, let me go back to the last thing I used, which was grainy water, just as I hoped. Okay, so a little grainy water. And now I'll do an iterative save. And just one more thing. I'm going to pick a color from my image rather than try to find it somewhere else, and use the chunky pastel to just give her a little bit of tone on the tip of her nose, and go back to grainy water and blend that just a little bit, and iterative save, and I think that's it. Okay, you guys?
That is beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. Oh, one more. No, one more thing. I gotta look at the highlight on her nose, and there's a few little highlights there. It just so I want to do that with chunky oil pastel. I just want to. I'll zoom in, get in there a little bit of a very light touch for that. Oop, that was not light enough. So a little kind of a light touch for that, and then a little bit of. You see, well, one thing you need to do, I'm going to switch back to the blender once again with my last used item, and then just kind of blend that out. One of the things you have to discipline yourself with, and this is a very general comment, whether you're working digitally or not, you have to know when to quit. You have to know when you're done. And that last little bit satisfied me. So here we are.
I think that's the best caricature I've ever seen. I do love it. And Nicole is very happy. I know we're at the top of the hour here. Two very quick questions.
Sure, go.
Why do you not sample from the photo?
Well, that's interesting. I could. Let me see if I can actually. Well, gosh, as a reference for. Oh, yeah. Well, right here, there's this little eyedropper. So yeah, so I could sample from the photo. Look, watch what happens down here as I go to different tones there. And indeed, if I worked with photorealism more, I would do more of that. As it is.
Yeah, but you know what? You don't need to, because you know how to select colors, but I mean, just for those that may be challenged with color, you can do that if you want to. And guess what? Attendees figured out, and we can talk about this after, but for your variable rake tool, the variability, it was set to audio input.
Oh my God.
You can change that input, but just so everybody knows, yeah. So with that, I think you did a fantastic job, Rhoda.
Well, thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you everyone for attending and for your kind attention.